And Sanders, sorry, if you could like sit near the stage. So, all right. Please come in and take a seat. Oh, also, really quickly while you find seats. So again, if anyone here wants to participate in the Hack Day tomorrow at Swissnex downtown, if you could just please email me at peter@archive.org, that would be great. It's going to be kind of rainy tomorrow, unfortunately, but what better time or place to spend it than in front of a machine? So please come out and have fun and work with words and pictures and good things. So with that, I'd like to introduce Derrick, and we'll get started on this panel. Thank you.
So I was a genius who decided that, hey, it's books and browsers, I should do my presentation in the browser. And then I found the responsive hell of the difference between 16 by 9 and 4 by 3. So let's see if we can work this out here. All right, cool. So I'm a designer and a developer. I work currently with Atavist Books and also on the platform that runs all of our titles, which is Creativist, which, if you're familiar with The Atavist, which is a long-form journalism magazine, they've been around a couple years, they use it as well. So I really wanted to talk, basically, for me, the difference between the web for books, like for a reading perspective, and the web for bookmaking. Since I've worked now for 2 book publishers who do digital-first projects, and just sort of finding all the weird little tools that you have to make just to make things happen. So it's mostly, going to be about not necessarily the things that make us the money or the big platform projects you can run a whole business on, but just some little tools that I've made. And I basically do that by stealing from people smarter than me. And then I just apply it to an ebook. So I'll give a couple quick examples. So I think everyone here talks about GitHub, and in the past, Books and Browsers has been looking at ways to get writers to use GitHub and that sort of thing. At Atavist Books, we actually just recently moved all of our editorial team to assigning tickets through GitHub, which initially was great, but now I have like 500 tickets I have to deal with for little text corrections. But it actually is really great, and they loved it, and we taught them how to use Markdown, and so now they're going whole hog on, a text correction goes into GitHub, it gets assigned to someone, and we check it off. So really great project. I'm sure if you're familiar with using the web, you know about Can I Use? It's a website devoted to basically just sort of keeping what browsers have caught up to the latest HTML and CSS things. So for example, we talked a lot about regions today. If you want to see who actually allows you to use regions, it turns out it's only Apple. You'll see Chrome had it for a while and then pulled it. So something like this was really sort of interesting to me because, it applies to the web, but none of this stuff is available in eBooks. So with my team at Creativist, we basically built something somewhat similar, albeit a lot less fancy, just for eBooks. So here's all the HTML tag support that you can find across the various retailer e-reading platforms. And then here's CSS. And initially this was just for our internal use, and I started sharing it with people, and they were like, this is actually really awesome. And if you're Canadian, don't worry, the Kobo team has actually just reached out to me, and they're going to help fill all these out. So yeah, here again is just a simple example of just taking something that already existed for web developers and porting it over for ebook producers. Here's another great example. Scott Gell, if you're familiar with him, created a repo on GitHub of old device bugs. So for example, this is, they've got a bunch of stuff like Blackberries, devices that will never be updated again, and all the device issues that are available in there. And sometimes they even list potential solutions. And obviously, if you work in eBooks, you know that that is the exact same problem with just about every e-reading device. So I set up a repo of my own and asked people to contribute to it. And this is, the first 40 issues we could find about ebook production, and they're all tagged based on the retailer, the device, that sort of thing. I'm sure if any number of us who work in ebooks sat down for a day, we could probably actually get up to 99 very quickly. So this is again an open source project, and it helps my platform, but it also helps others at the same time. So this is starting to get into sort of the design end of the projects we work on. One of the things that's really big, or starting to become bigger on the web, are these ideas of pattern libraries. So in this website, all they really do is provide basically a bunch of samples, documentation, and then code. And when I started working with OpenAir, which was a digital-first publisher on Inklings platform a few years ago, I generated sort of the same idea. This is a little different in the sense that this was a website we built for our editorial team. And I just want to point out here that what I'm highlighting here is actually what the editors would write in Google Docs. We had our sort of own Markdown language. They would write this quick little snippet, and once we ran it through our parsing system, it generated down to this HTML code here. And then we just set this up so that editors could see, what exactly happened across the iPad, iPhone, and that sort of thing when they were generating these pieces. So it's a good way of just, Markdown tends to be very abstract, or any sort of short code things are very abstract when you ask a writer to just write in it. So this is a way to sort of quickly visualize and generate those sort of systems for people. And now we've gone a little bit further, now that I'm at Atavist Books. This is just built into our CMS, Creativist. And it's just based on a whole templating system, so this is every chapter in one of our latest books. And within each chapter, there's a template you can choose. And then within those templates, we also have sort of micro patterns so that you can assign. In this particular book, there was something like the author had traditional text chapters that needed a chapter head, but then they also had letters inside of the piece. So in this example, this is just what a intro chapter, or what a unit intro essentially looks like. This is what the more text template-based thing is. You can see here there's a basic setting, and there's also some custom checkboxes that allow you to style things. It allows you to wrap this title in curly brackets for styling purposes. And that's what an example of a letter looked like. So it's a way of abstracting away some of the form for our editors. They don't have to worry about the code. They can just sort of check and select certain items. So one of the projects, one of the main tools that's out there right now that I'm really excited about is Inksling Habitat. If you guys haven't had a chance to look at it, I really recommend it. It does this amazing thing of just allowing editors a way to create a ticking system. It's hooked up to Redmine, which is an SVN base. So this is an example of a book I probably made 2 years ago with the OpenAir team, and you can just see that this is a list of a bunch of tickets that we have, things the editors caught while we were working on stuff and wanted updated. And it's a very easy system of just, let's see here. You can show all of your tickets, and then so each of these is a different item that's assigned to a person. Something as simple as this text needs to change to this. We might need to add this thing. This graphic was a little weird, and there's a system of labeling things as being fixed, which goes back to that person for them to review, and then closing it so you can say it's actually a fixed issue. So I loved Inkling when I was working on that. When I was working with Inkling, I loved working on that system because it made the editorial workflow really easy. But I'm also kind of obsessed with this thing called reading. I don't know if anyone else has used this before. It's a really simple browser bookmarklet that just allows you to just sort of make notes and say that you like things. This happens to be a web page. I said I liked it. I can see that a bunch of my friends have also liked it. And then I can also do things like add in comments. So when my friend Karen comes back to this site and checks it out on reading, she'll see all of my comments left there. This happens to be a coworker, so I told him I loved him. And then you can also do things like you can highlight text. And add it as a quote there. And then when you come back to it and you click on it, it highlights the text. So of course, I'm thinking, how do I just put those two together? And so that's exactly what I did. This is a very quick little demo of a little in-house tool we built, which is to basically say, like, you should be able to edit anything, anywhere. It's great that Habitat exists, but if we're building projects for the web, it seems like we should be able to do that just right directly on the web page. So here I am again on this page. If Thomas happened to accidentally spell Creativist wrong, I'm going to leave him a little note. I'll self-assign it because of the way this GitHub repo is set up. And then when I refresh my GitHub queue, it's there. Are there any print people in the house? All right, one or two. This might be the only thing that we give you here. But essentially, I built this for InDesign as well. So you can select some text. You hit your little script. This is a terrible interface, but it works. You can update. You can give a comment, assign it to someone, and submit it. And there it is in GitHub. And I mean, so here's the idea is that basically, like, because we have all these web tools, doesn't necessarily mean that the final output has to be web. It means that you can make things that also work really easily across platforms, and all you need is an API. I'm going to skip that thing real quick. I'm just going to show, this is actually what Creativist does. This is one of the crazier titles we built recently. It's called Twice Upon a Time. I'm just going to quickly show off some of the stuff and how it works in there. And the whole idea, I think, and this is what everyone's talking about, for the past couple years, is just the idea that you've got one CMS and it outputs all your files directly for you. So you'll see here, we have a system that can output to the web, output to apps, and output to eBooks. And on the web, where you have basically infinite possibilities, we've created this really amazing text story with beautiful design. And there's actually a soundtrack that also plays behind this, but I don't want to test the demo gods any more than I already am. And you'll see that words just swipe on the page. In the web, that happens through a click, and on a device, it happens through swiping. And then we get into some more interesting effects. So all this is great and perfect for people who are willing to read on the web or in the app. But let's say that you wanted to look at it in iBooks. So the way that our Creativist system works is it allows us to output and allows us to sort of do some regular checking of things. This is what the book looks like in iBooks. Not nearly as exciting, but it still maintains a lot of the design fidelity that we were looking for. And since iBooks does support audio, we even added in the soundtrack at the very end of the book. Yeah, that's it. So thank you. So anyway, I just want to quickly wrap up and just say that part of this is the idea not that anyone needs to use these tools for the same reason that I am, but just that you can make little things that then add up to bigger things. So for example, in Creativist, if you saw that 99 problems thing, all of those issues that are found in Creativist then or found on the 99 problems GitHub site, then get put through Creativist. So if you output based on saying you want to go to Nook, we'll actually check against all those issues and then create a file that essentially should not break on a Nook because of that. So, all these little projects add up to one big thing, and that sort of was the most interesting part of, developing these pieces, working with an editorial workflow and then sort of ping-ponging back and forth between editorial, individual titles, and then creating that on the platform. Thanks.